toFeilu Fiction Network Class A Contracted Fiction. Anime Scum. After the end of the world, a tech otaku found himself waking up in a pure white world. What? Did the game I made become real? Not only am I a god, but all game features are also functional. Not only can it travel endlessly, but there is also a redemption item mall. Can the strategy girl obtain gold coins and the exchange rate is super cheap? Will the world actively coordinate the relationships between young girls and ensure 100% harmony in the harem? Amazing, my world with such emotion, someone realized that they could only live for 3 days. This is a story about a technical house with only 3 days left to live, forced to become a scum, and motivated to survive in anime. In order to complete the world's Wagtail Goddess, Godslayer, Lost Knight Hero Tan, Academy Silence Record, seeking encounters in the dungeon is something wrong, King of the Undead, is on the rise. Feel free toFeilu Novel Network reminds you that this novel and its characters are purely fictional. If there are any similarities, they are purely coincidental and should not be imitated. Chapter 1. Women's World. You are listening at novelfull.audio. In a huge room, crowded with a pile of electronic devices, a huge screen 3 meters long and 2 meters wide hangs on the wall, surrounded by more than 10 top computers, nearly 100 top servers, and various functional electronic products. One of the top 3 hackers in the world, the second generation of Huaxia Super Red, is known as the God's Hand Technology House and the Leaning Cabin. Ah ha ha ha. Ready to finish. With a wild smile on his face, he struck on 12 keyboards with 2 hands at a high speed. His hand speed exceeded the human extreme, making him look like a dozen more hands. The sound of the keyboard pounding fell like a rainstorm, with a sense of other beauty. This is also the origin of the Hand of God. However, it is certainly not an ordinary thing to make this homestead man who has read all about anime so excited today. That's right, after browsing countless anime and playing countless games, I felt very bored and finally decided to design a game that belongs exclusively to me. The essence of the game is to travel through various anime worlds and acquire abilities, explore beautiful women, and of course, have a large number of basic settings, based on the template of anime novels that are accidentally browsed online. Today, it took countless brain cells and a month to finally extract the basic data template code. I spent 30 days browsing manga novels, nicknamed Searching for Inspiration. Ah ha 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 ha. With a triumphant smile, but the joy and sorrow could not be greater than this. There was a cable at his feet that had been bitten by a mouse for an unknown time, and now, with all his efforts to design the game, the consumption of data and electricity was also astonishing, ultimately leading to a slight discharge of electricity, causing him to feel numb all over. In the end, he didn't know what was going on, and the data in the entire room suddenly became chaotic. A black dot appears in the center of the room. With the appearance of the black dot, a raging hurricane swept through the room, pouring a large amount of books, figurines, hard drives, servers, computers, electronic devices, and all other things into the rapidly expanding black dot. However, the tilt that was immediately sucked in due to paralysis had not yet reacted and knew nothing. I don't know how long it took, but in the dark, I felt like I had entered a strange place. Infinite big, also infinite small, limited many, also limited few. Direction, space, time, air, earth, and so on, everything is in this strange place. There is nothing, but everything. This is the starting point of everything. The source of the world. The lucky carrier, who had just designed the game data, entered this most peculiar starting point. A strange and deformed world has emerged. A strange world born from the soul of inclination and based on game templates, women's world, the inclination to become the creator god in the female realm has condensed her body again. Before she could react or even see what she looks like now, she was poured with cold water by a wave of information originating from her soul and world. Due to its incomplete foundation and the special abilities of the female world, the world is distorted, resulting in only 3 in this world. The lifespan of heaven, and the lifespan of fusion with the female world it's only 3 days. I was shocked by this information for a while, and after roaring for an hour, I completely calmed down. On the 50th Avenue, if one were to escape, there would always be a glimmer of hope in the world. Therefore, Chang finally selected the intelligence she needed from various information transmitted from the women's world. The game Women's World was set by Chang himself, and the essence of this world is the same as the game set by Chang. It is a world that can only exist for women, and being able to travel to other worlds. As a pure game, this foundation is already perfect, but as a real world, it is incomplete. Therefore, the female world has become the source of a distorted world. Of course, this world cannot exist for too long. It is abnormal that the female world, which should have been destroyed at the moment of birth, has been given 3 days. And the source of this abnormality is Tilt. As the leader of the women's world, after reconciling her body, the remaining world power that was originally cut off from the source of the world was transformed into a pillar that supported the women's world. Although extremely small, it gave the women's world, which should have been destroyed, 3 days. Therefore, the female world is not without the possibility of survival, but requires pillars to support the world. Girls who possess the power of the world. That is to say, the female protagonists in various world contexts. In an instant, Qingming realized that in order to survive, he must make good use of the abilities of the female world, travel to various worlds, plunder and conquer various beauties, in order to survive. After pondering for a while, the survival time of the female world is only 2.5 days left. Because Qing himself is the creator god, as long as the female realm is not destroyed, Qing will never die. This is also a great advantage of integrating with the female realm. Being one with the Tao is like a miniature and incomplete Hongjun. However, of course, it is not as powerful as Hongjun, and there is always a risk of death. Because he lacks strength, although he will not die, he is just an ordinary person. Therefore, all strange worlds such as high-tech, black technology, superpowers, magic ninjutsu, etc. are excluded. Although there are some worlds that can quickly gain strength and a large number of girls, there is a huge difference between Qing and the original protagonist. It is not known whether there will be any changes, so Qing dare not gamble. Later, love games were ruled out, as a world that requires a lot of time is less reliable than a fantasy world. In the end, he turned his gaze to man. After further design and elimination, I chose a world where I could quickly obtain a large number of beautiful women in a short period of time. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 2. Goddess of Wagtail. You are listening at novelfull.audio. White. Endless white. Under the pure white sky, the bright white sun faintly appears in the clouds, while the milky white clouds change their posture freely under the blowing of the clear white wind. The wind blows over the silver white peaks, and the ivory white grass growing in the silver white crevices is constantly swaying. Looking down from the top of Yinbai Mountain, there is an endless ivory white field ahead, with scattered trees standing on the grassland. A beige river runs through the entire grassland. Looking left along the river, scattered vegetation becomes more and more lush, gradually revealing an ivory white forest and a jade-like white lake dotted among the forests. The beige river is divided into several tributaries, merging into jade white lakes, wool white ponds, and protein-colored underground rivers. It then slides down from the mountaintops, forming oyster white waterfalls. After running through the entire forest, these countless tributaries extended towards the distance and eventually converged into a large river, merging into the pearl white sea. Inexplicably able to see things far away, as if even the end of the sky can be seen without a trace, this is an endless white world. Staring blankly at this pure world that seemed devoid of any dirt. Now inexplicably enlightened. This is my world. After a long time, Qing finally regained consciousness and then sensed a strange message. It's like talking to oneself, but it's also like someone else's narration in their ear. I have learned everything about this world. This is a world born out of games. A rough and crude, simple game made by a highly fantastical tech otaku who spent a week making it, pure. YY harem game. That's right, this Dead Mansion is a tilt. Because the yearning for anime is not satisfied with animation and novels, finally, the magic hand is extended to the game. I want to create a game myself. As an otaku without a girlfriend, drawing inspiration from online anime harem novels, he naturally created a pure YY harem romance game for himself. No need to communicate with others, no need to communicate with others, no need to interact with others. It's a simple and one game. Copyright is really too troublesome. Just like this, the trend suddenly began. Traversing, redeeming, shopping malls, strategies, coins. Game settings are poured into this game one by one, and then excess ones are deleted one by one. After all, it's done by oneself. Setting too many settings can be troublesome. However, just as the basic template for the game has been prepared and the interest has increased, it is ready to start. I'm so exhausted I completely don't know what's going on. I just stayed at home, preparing to taste the game I made, and the result was so inexplicable. Hang up, Upon waking up again, I found myself in this pure white and pristine world. However, according to the world consciousness of this white world, the original world of Chang died, and Chang luckily fell into the beginning and end of the world with the game data blueprint, absorbing the remnants and fragments of that dead world. Finally, based on Chang, this world was born. The world of games. A series of settings made Chang completely dizzy and disoriented. Although he understood how he died, he still couldn't figure out what was going on with this divine unfolding. But there are 2 points that I roughly understand. He is the creator of this world and fully integrated with it. The so-called world consciousness of the heavenly way and humanity in this world is actually his own. Metaphorically speaking, he is a clone of this kind, but at countless levels. Mainly used to manage the operation of the world. Chang obtained a world as a clone. However, although this is surprising, even shocking, ecstatic, and even joyful, it is only natural for one to be mentally deranged. But Chang actually didn't pay attention at all. Because there are only 3 days left in this world. The fundamental reason for hesitating in this world is based on the blueprint of the game. Therefore, in 3 days, this world with many loopholes will be completely destroyed. Just like the world before me. However, this is not the most important point, but, the foundation of owning this world, including the creator, world consciousness, world dominance, and countless other identities, is also limited to 3 days of lifespan. Tears poured down upon learning the truth. Are you alone? In the small park on a winter night, I strolled along the snowy path and looked at the white girl sitting under the light not far away. The girl was dressed in a white kimono, with an unusually plump and delicate body curled up into a ball. She sat on a bench holding shuangyue and looked up in surprise when she heard the sound of leaning. So I was even more surprised. As for the girl's expression, there was no surprise. After a few steps, she casually sat next to her and said, "Are you a wagtail?" Affirmative sentences. The girl did not deny it, but gave a serious glance and then lowered her head back to her knees, saying, "Yes, I am a kitsu from the abandoned number 07, an abandoned wagtail that cannot be feathered." Is that right? That wagtail that can't feather is you. It seems you've escaped from MBI. Chang asked knowingly and smiled at the girl, "How are you? Do you want to come with me?" The girl named Chiu Jin was clearly stunned for a moment, and her originally dull and low expression was replaced by surprise. "Do you need me? Even if you can't feather, do you need me?" "Well, that's why I'm here. You're very important to me." She nodded and thought for a moment before repeating, "Very important." Among the 108 species, it is also one of the most unique elemental wagtail, the ice wagtail that manipulates cold ice, and one of the powerful upper-level wagtail in the original work. It is also the first goal of pouring into this world. If I can't get you, I'll die. No power, no appearance, I am just very simple, for your existence. Thinking this way, the tilted gaze became even simpler. A slightly innocent Akitsu clearly felt this emotion, and her pupils shrank. The surprise and confusion in her eyes were immediately replaced by firmness. Then she jumped off the chair and bowed to her, saying, I was driven by you. Lord Weya. That's good, let's sign the contract now, the contract of Wagtail. He stood up with a smile, bent down, and picked up Akitsu's minibus, then stopped speaking. The white wagtail inscription appeared behind Akizumi, with 6 snowy wagtail wings surrounding the inscription. A fierce cold current surged out of Akizumi's body, and the extreme cold, like a strong wind, made the fine snow falling in the sky fierce. In just a short moment, this small park was dyed pure white. The red wagtail pattern on Akitsu's forehead suddenly contracted and disappeared in the blink of an eye. His short brown hair was also infected by the extreme cold, becoming as pure as snow. Eclosion. And under this superficial luxury ceremony, I see more things. The girl named Chiojin seemed to blur a lot at once. It was as if she suddenly left this world, leaving only a lingering shadow. No. That was truly leaving this world. Being devoured by a world called the female realm, the existence of a girl named Akitsu has been sucked into another world. A violent storm swept through the wild grass on the roadside cannot move, and the forest beside me cannot fall. Even the most sensitive girl's skin cannot feel any fluctuation, but the view is very clear. It's like a hole suddenly appearing in a pool, and the flowing water called world power flows like a water tornado down this hole until the flowing water silted up and once again transformed into the existence of a young girl named Chiojin. It just stopped. Gold coin plus 10,000. It seems like an electronic reminder can be heard in my mind. I burst out laughing happily. Not only is the lifespan extended, but more importantly his conjecture is correct. Strategy is not just about love, family, friendship, the connection between hearts, the spiritual connection between contracts, the life connection between flesh and body. The so-called strategy is just such a simple thing. Creating an opportunity for the female world to devour its existence. Wait a moment. Your Excellency. Chiojin was suddenly taken aback, regained his senses, and froze in place. No matter how natural she is still a girl. The wagtail, which has a similar emotional connection to humans, expressed great shock at the development of this event. What's wrong? It's not natural for reed buds to feather their wagtail. A playful smile curled up at the corner of his mouth, and he looked at the panicked Chiojin done with a burst of fun. Although it may seem like an iceberg on the surface, it is actually a natural one. But why are you panicking? Is it, hey? Chiojin suddenly reacted and looked at himself in a daze. Did I, feathered? Akitsu's voice was very low, as if afraid of waking up something. The long-standing despair was shattered by the sudden happiness, and Akitsu's moment, shrouded in the reputation of being a waste, was like a falling dream. Is this a dream? Well, of course. She patted her little head, and although the girl in front of her remained expressionless, it was evident that she was very confused now. My eyes have turned into circles, it's really interesting. First of all, let me introduce myself. I am a man from a different world, you can call me Chang. Chang casually informed Akitsu of his identity. There's nothing to hide, it's better to say that this special identity can actually increase the success rate of the strategy. Just like now, the person who successfully established a connection with Akitsu clearly feels the girl's intentions. I completely don't believe it. Yes, Lord Chang, I am the ice wagtail with the number 07, Akitsu. Please take good care of me in the future. The three-nosed girl Akitsu's expression remained unchanged, and she saluted again with a stern expression. Although she felt a bit helpless for her master's second child, meeting him was already the greatest fortune of her life. Do you have any plans now? Kyuzin stood up and asked. Are you planning? Of course, you're winning the Wagtail game. With a confident smile, since you're in the game, you can't just watch. Anyway, I am also a creator god. Although it's a joke, I never thought about losing this word. Do you have any plans? Of course, but let me keep it a secret for now. Yes. After examining the surrounding environment, Chang took Kyuzin towards the exit. Because the park is very small, although it is in the center of the park, I quickly walked out of this small park covered in snow. This is a strange phenomenon during the emergence of a kitsu. It is a special feature that other wagtail species do not have, and it is also the reason why she cannot emerge. The too powerful force has eroded every cell of her, even the stem that gave the reed buds has not been spared. Last night, the reed buds of ordinary humans were believed to have been frozen into ice sculptures at the moment of emergence, if not for the assimilation and suppression of a large amount of reed buds. Let's first find a place to live, so there's nothing wrong with wandering on the street, and Wagtail can't be easily found. After leaving the park and turning a street, we arrived near a commercial street. Looking at the bustling scene of people coming and going on the street, we clearly felt very good. I'll obey your orders. Xiao Jin's expression remained unchanged, just standing quietly behind him. Glancing at her, he smiled. Inexplicably, Xiao Jin felt that his Weiya adult was not looking at him, but through her, looking at something extremely important to her. Although somewhat restless, the palpitations quickly disappeared without a trace. After thinking about it for a while, Akitsu finally forgot about this feeling. She was absolutely loyal to her Lord Ashikaga. It doesn't matter even if you lose your life. However, Akitsu's feeling is not wrong. From a tilted perspective, one can see another pure white world. There is also a 3-no white-haired girl wearing a white kimono somewhere. It's a kitsu. And which white world is a tilted world? Through the link of the Wagtail contract, the existence named Akitsu was absorbed into the world of inclination. Although Akitsu still exists in the Wagtail world today, in fact, she is in the female realm. If you insist, it's the projection across from the mirror. Although there is flesh and blood, injuries can still be painful, the essence of Akitsu is in the world of inclination. This is the purpose of leaning. Utilize the pure emotions of a young girl. Deception, concealment, misleading. Shifting one's own disasters and dangers onto young girls. That's right, I knew it clearly from the beginning. If the female world disappears, then, along with all the girls who have been conquered by Chang, they will all join Chang death. After all, I'm just a scumbag. It's really terrible. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 3. Ice Wagtail. Autumn Jean. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Women's World. This is the game produced by Chang, and it is also the name of that pure white world. Unfortunately, this world only has 3 days of existence. The reason was revealed at the moment of waking up. This female world, born out of gaming, has been deformed from the beginning. The setting of crossing and shopping mall in the female world has added many unnecessary tissues and organs. These unnecessary organs have absorbed a large amount of the world's original power from the birth of the female world. This is like a newborn baby, but due to the addition of a few unnecessary organs that are extremely burdensome. Although these organs bring extraordinary superpowers to babies, they lead to one thing: undernutrition. The female world is currently facing such a situation. And unlike real babies, Chaos Void is not a hospital with complete equipment and medical staff always paying attention to, but a primitive forest where the weak prey on the strong. This forces Chang to face this fact. In 3 days, he will die. In order to avoid this established fact, after pondering for a day, I finally came up with an impossible solution. The world itself does not have the function of self-rescue. This is very clear, so external forces must be borrowed. Time travel. At the moment of the birth of the female world, the power that erupted was like a lighthouse, providing a path for crossing. If we use the term mall in the system, it means that Chang has obtained a free opportunity to travel through a designated world. This is the last and ultimate straw to save lives. If you miss it, you will die 10 times and have no chance to do it again. Unlike games, the essence of time travel in the female world, once realized as reality, is revealed to the audience. If one wants to start time travel, they need to wait until the female world explores the next world. The specific time is uncertain. Perhaps it will appear in the next moment of the transition, or it may not exist for millions of years until the collapse of the female world. This is undoubtedly despairing, the only hope to burn the boat. The tone of seeking external forces through time travel has been set, so the next step is to figure out how to obtain external forces. Quickly, the attention was directed towards other excess organs. Maul has the potential to travel no less than time, but as a world power converter, the female world, which already lacks world power, is also difficult for skilled women to cook without rice. Chang has thought about many ways, even if it is to extract the power of the world's origin from the last 3 days, to put it to death and create a new life. Chang has also thought about it. I was very helpless and eventually gave up the idea of relying on shopping malls. The world is not different, we cannot tolerate this outsider to engage in chaos. Finally, after thinking for a day, Chang finally came up with an impossible solution. Introduction. This organ, which was originally overlooked, although there are not many extra organs in the female world, the most important ones are crossing and maul. The other organs, such as strategy, favorability, item list, and skill list, are not a big problem. But Chang quickly noticed another small setting hanging under strategy. Gold coins. The essence of the women's world as a game is a love harem game, through which you can get gold coins by visiting the young women in anime. The operation of the mall is the trading of gold coins. The essence of a shopping mall is the transformation of world power. So, Chang came to a conclusion. Gold coins are equal to the power of the world. The female world is now like a baby lacking nutrition, and gold coins are the most suitable high-nutrient formula for women's consumption, which can greatly alleviate, compensate, and even take the female world further. As long as there are enough gold coins. So, after countless screenings, she finally poured into this world. Goddess of Wagtail, Akitsu was a goal that was decided upon before he arrived in this world. Through the gift of planning a journey, Akitsu, who could specify a time and place, appeared directly in the park where Akitsu was located, and everything went smoothly. What drives people to come into this world is also the bonus ability attached to the liking function. Love Halo. The effect is innate favorability plus 30, with a certain chance of falling in love at first sight, and has an EX level attraction to races with special needs. Therefore, it can also be called an absolute contract. This is also designed by the lazy inclination to deal with worlds like My Fox Fairy Girlfriend and Accelerated World that fall in love at first sight. Of course, contract types such as Wagtail Goddess and Sword Dance of the Elf Envoy are also within the scope of these worlds. The ability to fall in love with the halo has always been disadvantageous to Wagtail. After all, for them, leaning is their true read bud, not relying on deception or deception, completely real attraction. This is the ace that lies in this world. Playing flirtatious with the true iceberg girl, leaning towards the special perspective of the female world and watching the changes in it. The female world that devoured Akazumi was like a slender water pipe, and with the integration of Akazumi, that inexplicable force also inexplicably merged into this pure white world. The earth, sky, forests, mountains, lakes, rivers, oceans, where countless forces blend in. The entire pure white world seems to become even more vivid and radiant in an instant. The world is completing. If this continues, it won't be long before the women's world fully grows and recovers, but this is obviously impossible. Quickly, with the completion of the other ends, Akitsu, the passage was blocked, and the pure white world suddenly became fixed. The indescribable power was also cut off, and the remaining power gathered in the Thmal. The world has been filled, but this is just a hope to quench thirst. But the essence is the inclination of this pure white world, knowing clearly that the collapse of the world will not be offset by it, just like a dilapidated building. Without load-bearing capacity, pillars, or even cement, a casually constructed building, even with a layer of paint, is useless except for its freshness. At most, it's just a fleeting and beautiful dangerous building. Chang knows that the indescribable power is the world power he craves the most now. However, simply infusing the power of the world is useless. Just a simple infusion, it's like bathing with sugar, it's not as effective as effective treatment methods like intravenous drip. The effect is simply vastly different. No. The difference between invalidity and validity. The existence of Akitsu, who integrates into the pure white world, is like a vein in the female realm, supporting the weight of the world. This is a special rule of the women's world and also a hope for leaning. Only by strengthening it with the power of the world can we prevent the arrival of collapse. Is that so? This is the truth of the strategy. Looking at the faint star in the sky of the women's world, it was the existence of a girl named Akitsu. The female world is ultimately a world supported by women. Although in this way, Chojin lived and died together with the women's world, he received the favor of the entire women's world. It can be considered a steady profit without losing. This is the contract of the female world. If you sign a contract with me, this price is necessary. Looking at Chojin with a smile, the girl looked inexplicably. However, the expression on his face remained unchanged. Although the iceberg has long melted, the accustomed facial muscles still haven't been able to adjust in time. I wasn't in a hurry to go to the hotel, as I didn't know how to run. Looking at the commercial street in front of me, I walked over with Kyuzin. If I remember correctly, sure enough, he put down Akitsu's lifted skirt and handed over the chubby one he was holding. Put it on. Please allow me to refuse, sir. The young girl in the collar and kimono looked at the inner garment in Chang's hand with disgust, and Chojin's expression only enriched when facing Chang. This useless thing that hinders physical activity is not necessary below is a righteous statement. No, 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 this is an important thing to showcase the beauty of women, not something useless. She said seriously, her eyes shining brightly with stars. I don't need it. If adults are interested, they can wear it themselves. Akitsu made a solemn declaration. Tilt. You must wear it today. Chang didn't want to say anything more. Sir. This kind of thing is a great obstacle to combat. If you encounter other wagtail, I'm worried that I won't be able to exert my full strength. Don't worry about this, put it on. Sir. I am. After buying the inner clothes at the inner clothing store, I strolled around a commercial street for a while and had some Japanese specialty snacks. Then, I arrived at the largest 5-star hotel nearby, and this scene happened in my room. After finally forcing Akitsu to put on a chubby outfit, he arranged Akitsu's room and went back to sleep. Is it truly a presidential suite? There are actually 5 rooms, enough for a big family to live in. The inclination bound to the female world, life and death all depend on the ultimate outcome of the female world, and the original lifespan is naturally the most useless thing. But it's quite valuable. After exchanging the remaining 52 years of lifespan for 5,200 gold coins, the remaining 200 gold coins were exchanged for 20 million yen in Wagtail World, so there is no need to worry about living expenses. Anyway, you can't treat yourself unfairly before hanging up. Do I have 15,000 gold coins now? The harvest from conquering Chojin is good. I received information from the female world in my mind, but although 10,000 gold coins may seem large, they can only last for a month. 10,000 gold coins equals 1 month's time. Without hesitation, he filled Akitsu's 10,000 gold coins into the women's world and breathed a sigh of relief as he gained a 1-month lifespan. Finally, I can catch my breath. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 7. Thunder. Wagtail. Light/sound. You are listening at novelfull.audio. A wall of ice traverses the world, like a landslide and tsunami, and the rainstorm composed of huge debris falls on the wall of ice with the momentum like a natural disaster. Just like raindrops falling on the surface of an umbrella, they cannot stir up any waves. The destructive power and calmness formed an exceptionally sharp contrast, and the icy barrier seemed to separate two worlds. Congratulations! The wagtail from outer space gifted its own wagtail trunk to humans on Earth, giving birth to similar reed-tooth trunks. Then in battle, retrieve one's own backbone. Along with the power of reed teeth. Just like a chemical reaction, wagtails have gained extraordinary, divine abilities. No, it's more about sublimation than ability. That is beyond ability, an essential leap, an evolution of life. Unfortunately, it's not complete. But even if it's only a short period of time, that's also the power of God. For a long time, the roaring sound stopped. The ice wall, which allows the debris to fall without causing any damage, easily shatters and dances in the air like ice crystals and fine snow. That is the crushed ice fragments of frozen stones after hitting the ice wall. This is the ice erosion in Akitsu. Even oneself cannot bear it, standing at the peak of 108 wagtail, and ultimately the strongest wagtail one of them. That's right, out of just 108 wagtails, there are 4 who hold such power. But now is not the time to think about these things. Walking in the mist of ice, effortlessly climbing up the rocky mountain piled up with giant rock debris. No, on the iceberg. These are all ice cubes that remain due to their excessively large volume. Chojin, blast this place open. Ching pointed to a huge stone and said. That is probably a corner of the building, like a pyramid, upside down at the top of the wreckage mountain. Kyuzin remained silent and reached out to press down on the boulder. In an instant, the dim stone was frozen by the ice and randomly shattered into pieces. 2 young girls struggling to support themselves were exposed below. Light and sound. I'm in a coma. I leaned my chin and looked at the twin wagtail, which was filled with electricity and fell into a coma after the giant rock shattered. Then let's move back. A faint sunlight shone through the window and onto the face of the young girl on the bed. The girl felt uncomfortable under the sunlight and let out seductive moans. The light opened its eyes in a daze and stared at the unfamiliar ceiling above. Subsequently, the memory revived, and the confused girl regained the posture of the Thunder Warrior, suddenly waking up with a startle. Just sat up, and in the next moment, I found my sister lying on the side, sleeping soundly with a sweet face on her face. The intense movement of light disturbed my sister's sleep, and the sound randomly and vaguely opened her eyes. He also suffers from hypoglycemia, which is worthy of being 2 sisters. The safety of the younger sister made Guang breathe a sigh of relief. At the same time, she also felt that she was not eclipsed as expected, and immediately thanked the person who saved their sisters. Creak. The connection of the wooden door is rusty and makes a piercing sound. Excuse me, said a male voice, and then he casually pushed open the door. Light randomly saw a young man carrying 2 large bowls walking in. Oh, are you awake? The young man hesitated for a moment and walked over with a smile on his face. Good morning. Pour 2 bowls of porridge on the bedside table. Morning. Guan looked at the young man with a hint of confusion, only feeling a violent palpitations in his heart. This feeling is, are you? My sister's voice was still drowsy and didn't wake up. I saw you buried in the stones last night, so I brought you back. Smiling, I brought kanji to you. Are you all wagtails? Be careful when fighting. Do you know us? The sound came to his senses, but his subconscious reaction was to press it against his own chest. As a younger sister, I also felt the stirring in my heart. The surging palpitations and impulses in the heart made the whole body hot and excited, and the light and sound that clearly understood the meaning of all of them were shocked. You. Are you, our Lord Weiya? The light reacted. Chang was stunned for a moment, and soon realized that this should be the result of the combination of Chang's power as a reed tooth and the aura of love. The absolute attraction to Wagtail. That's really an honor, Chang said. After chatting with Guang and Xiang for a while, Chang then signed a contract with them after they had breakfast. Gold coins plus 20,000 time returns to the moment before the explosion occurred. Lu Ao, with his extraordinary physical strength, forcefully interrupted the attack on Guangxiang's sisters, and in a flash turned to save the Yuzi Shang falcon. As for Hinako, who was waiting on the side, she slowed down a step and had no choice but to follow in Lu Ao's footsteps to escape from the rooftop. In order to avoid the sudden space-based satellite gun, Lu Ao, holding the Hayabusa in his arms, ran to the rooftop far away from the building. However, Lu Ao, who completely did not understand the essence of the light pillar cannon, did not realize that everything he did was useless. Fortunately, in order to hide his foolishness, Song did not continue to attack. After leaving the original place and avoiding meeting with Chang, Song ignored them, which was also a mistake. However, it is obvious that they have completely ignored this point. Are you okay, sir? Lu Ao's iceberg face could no longer be sustained, and his heart was completely hanging on the petite young man in his arms. Although he was confident in his skills, the previous beam of light came too suddenly. If there was anything he didn't take care of, he would really regret it. No, it's okay. The expression on the Hayabusa's face was dull, as the massive shelling that had destroyed the building had left him unable to recover from it until now. The first intimate encounter with death caused Xiao Jingtai, who had always regarded Wagtail games as a true game, to panic and not pay attention to the escaping light and noise. What should we do? Lu Ao said the Hayabusa on Yuko with a pitiful expression that was about to cry. I'm so scared. It's okay. I will protect the adults. Lu Ao suddenly hugged Xiao Jingtai with a serious expression on his face. Take good care of me. Yes. Lu Ao said firmly, silently swearing in his heart. If anyone dares to harm Lord Yuzi, then step over my body. The bastard who dared to attempt to harm adults before, I swear in the name of Lu Ao. I will definitely not let you go. Hinako looked at the harmonious scene of embracing each other, surrounded by endless sunflowers, speechless for a moment. I'm also an adult wagtail, why does it always feel like I can't get in? It seems like I've been excluded. 20,000 gold coins, it seems that there is no bonus for the special relationship. After making a contract with the twins, Chang found that the gold coins he received from Guanhe Xiangna were the same as those from Akitsu. It seems that the acquisition of gold coins is related to the level of participation in the plot. It has nothing to do with personal preferences. There is no bonus for sisters Flowers, mother and daughter Wells. Autumn Jean played soy sauce all night, but she didn't feel any dissatisfaction. Her ability to come here was just to prevent variables from happening. You know, Chang clearly saw a sleazy loser man wandering around nearby. Who knows if that guy who is friends with Asama Jianren would have any trump cards. After all, the light and sound in the original book are wagtails. It seems that the two sisters could not escape the devil's hand if they did not intervene. They had to hand out leaflets on the street to feed themselves. Moreover, As one of the city's creators, a close friend can still make such a miserable living, which is unique throughout history. However, this is not important. Currently, I have 55,000 gold coins on my hands, and after spending 2 days, I still have a lifespan of 31.5 days. I am not in a hurry about this. After all, there will be nothing wrong with the female world until I reach that critical point. The female world is currently in a miraculous balance, and what we need to do now is to perfect it and make it a complete circle before the balance is disrupted. The existence of girls is like a yarn, gradually weaving the female world together. Instead of becoming irregular and deformed like now. The existence of the power of the world is to strengthen yarn into iron wire, steel wire. To maintain the existence of the female world to the greatest extent possible. Obtaining survival time greatly alleviated Chang's inner anxiety, which also opened his mind to many other ways. In order to create a perfect circle, besides adding, there are also ways to remove it. Of course, this was not considered by Chang. However, it is a very good approach, which is worth considering. Stop your beloved motorcycle, it cost a whole million yuan, but it's not important, just be handsome. And it's also an absolutely safe maglev motorcycle, don't be too handsome. Satisfied, he returned to his room and greeted the landlord of Mizuya Asama in the kitchen, then went upstairs directly. For Wagtail have emerged, and the power of the reed teeth in Chang's body is already very huge, but this power is of no use to Chang. The existence of reed teeth is essentially a clone of Wagtail. Wagtail gives its own backbone to humans, which absorbs human genes and produces a power called reed teeth, which is called reed teeth. Weiya returns his own strength to the Wagtail, gathers the power of two people, and thus enables the Wagtail to achieve a leap in the essence of life. However, due to the insufficient power of Weiya, this side has become a state of combat, which is called a congratulatory speech. The most powerful power of Wagtail. Therefore, although the collection of 4 Wagtail trunks did not significantly enhance the congratulatory message to Song and his companions, the durability exceeded a lot, but this was of no use to Chang itself. This requires planning how to utilize its power. After all, although tilt cannot be used, it is at least a very huge source of power, and it is too wasteful to just leave it there. I'm back. Welcome back. Matsumoto had already stayed in Akitsu's room waiting, and now the leaning room was completely abandoned, not even the warehouse. After all, there was still portable space in the women's world. Akitsu is very happy about this. The 3 daughters of Akitsu were released and introduced to each other. They were both the highest-ranking Wagtail, and Matsuki and Guangxiang had some understanding. However, it was Akitsu, a special Wagtail, that needed to be introduced, but it wasn't a big deal. Leaving the light and sound in Akitsu, Chang returned to his room. Of course, it's not that Chang doesn't want to stay there, but as Chang prepares to spend the night and enjoy the happiness of Wufei, Asama Maya suddenly breaks in, holding tea and showing a gentle smile to Chang. But the Prajnaparamita behind her has completely betrayed her ideas. Chu Yun Zhuang is prohibited by H. A gentle smile echoed in Asama Maya's mind as she held a frying pan, and she was startled as she honestly tidied up her room. However, with the help of light and sound, it made her much more relaxed. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 8. The Power of Changpan. You are listening at novelfull.audio. The next morning, a group of people all piled up in the small room of the pine tree. The light and sound, combined with Akizumi shrinking in the corner of the room, left the middle space for Tsunwamatsu, but even so, it was still very crowded. How many Wagtail have been feathered now? Chang asked the key. The first batch of Wagtails released had a total of 10 feathers, and with the addition of Akitsu, 3 Wagtails that were specially separated from MBI, including myself and Gen NV, had a total of 13 feathers. Song's glasses shone white and looked gloomy in front of the computer. The three daughters of Akitsu dare not show their grandeur. Song retrieved everyone's information and introduced them one by one, saying, the released Wagtail has Fenghua with number 04, Luao with number 05, Guang with number 11, Sound with number 12, and Himiko with number 15. These are the first wave of Wagtail released. Now, except for Fenghua with number 04, all the others have emerged. Song then focused on introducing the information of several of them, especially Luao, who is the most attentive to light and sound. The wind flower with Wagtail number 04 is a rare element of Wagtail, which has the power to manipulate the wind. Its personal taste is good wine, and it is understood that it has a good impression of MBI's Midway Yuzongguang people, but it is clearly unrequited love. Matsudaira excitedly gossiped, but it was wise to just savor it and say, Luao, with the Wagtail number 05, is a common knife-type wagtail among wagtails. Although he is the only male wagtail, his strength is extremely strong and he is one of the strongest 3 knives among wagtails. Strongest. Guang and Xiang said in unison. Well, although there are still 2 higher-ranked sword wagtail on it, its strength does have an overwhelming advantage over other wagtail. He nodded loosely and said, as the first generation of punishment troops, his strength is the most outstanding group of wagtail. The first generation of punishment troops, this name stunned Guang and Xiang, and the weight contained in it was clear to them as wagtail, which was the strongest synonym. Each of them had the power to annihilate an army, and together they were absolutely invincible armed forces. Oh. Interesting. Qing interrupted the dull atmosphere in the mortal world and said with a smile, Songjiang is not bad either. The Zhiji Wagtail with the number 02 is the first military commander to punish the army, so there's no need to underestimate yourself. Yes. He pushed his glasses loose, revealing a relaxed and proud smile, but did not deny his words. Ah. Is Songjiang also the first generation of punishment troops? I never expected that. Guang and Xiang hugged each other and whispered, while Qiu Jin glanced at them without saying anything. Fenghua Ji is not about her feathering. It is estimated that no one will be able to feathering her in the short term, so there is no need to pay attention to her for the time being. After thinking for a moment, she said, now, according to the original plan, let's first explore the female character of the pearl. These days, Jian Nu has been running outside, I don't know what she's doing. Song heard this and suddenly became enthusiastic, looking eager to sell his teammates. I guess we might have found other mating partners. Qing also doesn't know when Jian NV actually emerged, but it's probably not that early, but he also started to get in touch. Anyway, Jian NV is a powerful wagtail worth fighting for, and we can't let it go. Really? Song typed and typed on the keyboard, and soon found the figure of the mother.in.law from the surveillance. In a hospital, the mother.in.law held a bouquet of flowers and found a little girl sitting in a wheelchair, chatting happily. In the early morning sunshine, beautiful women of all sizes smiled so gently, like a painting scroll, bringing a refreshing atmosphere to one's face like a spring breeze. Surprisingly, they found other reed teeth. How could there be a better reed tooth than Mr. Qing in this world? Guang and Xiang couldn't believe it. These 2 little girls were not people who could appreciate art, but soon they discovered something else. Speaking of which, among the 10 wagtail feathers that were released, not only were there Jian Nu, but even Song and Qiu Jin were not seen inside. Upon hearing this, Autumn Jin, who was originally in a daze, also focused her attention, but her icy face remained completely unchanged on the surface. I stole the artifact, and the mother.in.law escaped from MBI with me to protect me. Matsudaira casually said the message that left Kawakami stunned. And Akitsu, I have understood it too. Matsudaira turned his head to look at Akitsu and only continued after receiving Akitsu's nod of agreement. Due to the debugging personnel of Akitsu, the power in Akitsu's body was too strong, so strong that it could not even complete feathering, which would cause the reed teeth to freeze to death. Song retrieved MBI's secret information, which were all special Wagtail, with a total of 7, and Akitsu's 3 people happened to be among them. Therefore, MBI identified it as an abandoned Wagtail. At that time, it was almost pulled to be recycled and recast, but in the end, it escaped MBI and was feathered by the dumping sauce. Although I don't know how he did it, Song said with a curious glance. With a shrug of her shoulders, she didn't speak, but instead looked at a screen where the mother.in.law was chatting with the little girl in a wheelchair, looking happy and happy. Chang already knows what Chang needs. In the afternoon. Stepping on the cobblestone-filled path, there was a slight discomfort and pain coming from under my feet. Surrounded by people coming and going, doctors and patients wearing blue-striped medical uniforms or white coats, the doctor's hurried demeanor contrasts sharply with the patient's leisurely crossing, but it appears very harmonious. This is the largest hospital in the New East Imperial Capital and one of the 3 imperial hospitals, the Binge family industry, occupying nearly 100 acres of land. It has the best medical services in the New East Imperial Capital and boasts medical equipment that surpasses the outside world for 10 years, allowing many difficult and complicated diseases to be easily solved. It has won multiple international medical medals and has countless famous doctors under its name. Its published articles have great fame worldwide and even made significant discoveries affecting the medical industry. Its fame has spread far overseas, and many foreigners have traveled thousands of miles to Japan to seek medical treatment here. It is said that even cancer can be effectively alleviated and cured. Upon hearing this, even those who do not care much are amazed by the medical strength of this hospital. However, this has nothing to do with Chang. He did not come here to seek medical treatment. But for one person. "Hello, is that Miss Chen Sui?" leaned over to a young girl sitting in a wheelchair and asked, bending over. "Who are you?" Chen Sui asked curiously. "I'm Chang, a friend of Jian NV, and now I need to add the identity of a neighbor in the same apartment." Chang also smiled and said, "I heard about you from Jian NV recently, so I came over to take a look." "Thank you." Chen Sui was very happy. "Can you let me take a look if you don't recommend it?" Looking at Chen Sui's feet, although the leg shape is still very beautiful, it is full of illness and weakness. The slender calves without 1 or 2 flesh seem to break easily. Alas! Chen Sui never expected someone to be so direct, and she said such harassing words without saying a word. "I apologize for the abrupt words, but I am an alternative doctor after all. If you don't mind, could you let me take a look?" Chang apologized, but his attitude did not change. "Ah, no problem." The simple Chen Sui didn't think of anything bad, but instead expressed it openly. "Sorry," she lifted Chen Sui's pants legs and immediately saw those very slender and even slightly deformed legs. "Originally, I only looked at the shape of my pants legs, but now I can see it without any cover, but it is even more shocking. I'm really too thin." With a sigh, she leaned her hand onto Chen Sui's calf, and suddenly a faint green light flashed in her heart. Although it was light, the emerald green, full of vitality like a forest, was so dazzling and eye-catching, as if just witnessing it made one feel like they were in the forest, and their whole body was filled with freshness and comfort. As if baptized, Chen Sui only felt a tingling and itching sensation in her calves, as if her former weakness had been swept away, nurtured in her calves from an unprecedented sense of strength. Although still weak, Chen Sui clearly felt the strength in her calves, which was the vitality of life. Using the same method as the other leg, he took a final breath and, feeling a bit tired, helped Chen Sui put down her pants leg and said, "All right, after a period of treatment, you can go down and walk." "Really, really?" Chen Sui said that happiness had come too suddenly. "Yes." She chuckled and then blinked mysteriously. "Don't tell your mother.in.law sister, give her a surprise hug when the time comes." Chen Sui thought for a moment about the expression on Jian Nu's face, and also agreed with a smirk. The power to heal Chen Sui is the everlasting seed exchanged from them all. Originating from the world of pet elves, it is the unawakened state of the universal power in its human special abilities, as it is useless before awakening, and therefore only sold for 5,000 gold coins. The power of Chang Pan possesses extraordinary healing ability, recovery ability, and the ability to communicate with nature, which are all very important for Chang. Especially the last one. Compared to healing, communication is more important. Today's inclination is not just wandering around in one world, but shuttling through endless time and space. How many non-human social worlds are there among them? How many are there in a normal world? These are all big problems, and this kind of spiritual communication is a skill that Chang urgently needs in the future. Although it is not strong, Chang only needs communication to be sufficient. However, in this world, what Chang values the most is still the ability to recover and heal. The seed of Changpan was planted in the reed tooth base inside the body, relying on the huge power of the reed teeth for irrigation and cultivation. Although it was known that it would succeed, it surprisingly went smoothly. In just one night, the flowers and fruits were completed. Moreover, due to being irrigated by the power of reed teeth, its healing ability is particularly significant for Wagtail, and it can also be remotely restored and used as a blessing. This greatly liberated the existence of inclination. It should be noted that Wagtail uses blessings to extract power from reed teeth, and now with remote transmission methods, this not only offsets a major weakness, but also adds a lot of flexibility changes. This is very beneficial for the lean plan. Although that's the case, standing behind a woman is really uncomfortable, he said as he tilted his motorcycle, took off his helmet, and sighed. However, in this way, the Jian Nu couldn't run away either. After curing Qian Sui, she had no other obstacles. I casually threw my helmet onto the motorcycle and turned around to step into the apartment, where Asama Maya was cleaning the yard. "I'm back," Chang greeted. "Welcome back." Mizuya Asama remained calm and gentle, unsure of how long her slow demeanor would take to clean up. "But speaking of which, every time I turn my head, Mizuya Asama cleans up and goes to cook. Does that mean, bang? It's not allowed to speak ill of others behind their backs. Mizuya Asama, still looking calm and gentle, shook her broom and said. "Do you have mind-reading skills?" Chang didn't even think about it. No, Mizuya Asama chuckled. "It's just that Kyatsu's expression was too cute, which made them unable to resist fighting. I'm very sorry. If you really want to apologize, don't come down." Saying goodbye to Mizuya Asama, I once again swore in my heart to bring her to justice, but in the end, I still haven't taken any steps. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 9. 1000 Years. You are listening at novelfull.audio. Returning to the second floor, to her surprise, Jian Nu was in the room, helping Qiu Jin put on weight with Guang and Xiang. This little girl will secretly take off if she's not paying attention. Hello. Qing greeted the mother. Lol. Hello, Jian NV nodded, still holding on to Qiu Jin tightly. I'm Jian NV from room 203, nice to meet you. I am Qing, who is temporarily staying in this room and a dimensional traveler from another world. Please take good care of me in the future. Qing nodded to understand and briefly introduced Qing's identity. Okay, secondary illness. Jian Nu wore a sunny and youthful smile on her face. If someone bullies you in the future, tell Qing and I'll cover you up. Qing fell silent for a moment, then pointed to the bag on his head. I was just beaten by Miss Asama. I didn't say anything. After causing a commotion in the room, Qiu Jin, with a worried and uncomfortable expression, twisted his buttocks and huddled in the corner of the wall. Guang and Xiang, exhausted, lay on the ground. Qing and Jian NV chatted for a while, saying that they would visit each other in the future, and then left. Obviously, the little girl also felt her cuteness, but although she had already chosen Weiya, she felt that the cuteness with Chang was even more intense. She still decided to give up on Chang's side. Abandoning a physically and mentally healthy Wagtail with a huge influence and choosing a sickly little girl who can't even stand, should Wagtail be truly some innocent guy? After dinner, a group of people gathered again in the loose room, as the matter of the mother-in-law was urgent. In 2 more days, the second wave of Wagtail will be released, said Song. As soon as he spoke, it was an explosive news. Oh. Chang was a bit surprised. So fast. Chang has just traveled for 2 days. No, the first wave of Wagtail released was only experimental in nature, so there were not many. After a week of trial testing, the remaining Wagtail had also been basically debugged, and this second wave was the 30.4 Wagtail that had already been debugged. Song typed on the keyboard and then adjusted many Wagtail information. There aren't many specific things worth paying attention to, but I have roughly marked a few goals, all of which are special Wagtail with special value. I suggest accepting them. The element that manipulates fog is the Wagtail Doji, which can shuttle through the shadows in the middle of the night. The element that manipulates water flow is the Wagtail Moon Sea, which, like a Kitsu, fails to debug and causes genetic instability in flames. Unexpectedly, it was discovered that the flame was only genetically unstable and did not show any symptoms of gender change. If we were to say the flaw, it was that the flame's power varied greatly, and random changes were a very troublesome thing. Doji's fog can effectively coordinate with Akazumi and light sound. If it can subdue the flames and Moon Sea, there will be an additional combination, making it a very good auxiliary Wagtail. Song explained, however, the flaw in Yen makes her ability to perform very unstable. Once it erupts excessively, it can lead to self-ignition. However, according to MBI's research, Yen's flaw is caused by a mutation in the reed tooth base, and it is estimated that she will recover after eclosion. She nodded and looked at the information of the 3 of them, saying, but it's still safer. Let's first contract with the Moon Sea. There is a restraining measure, so you don't have to worry. Moreover, the Moon Sea has good combat power, which is the puzzle we need. Well, I agree. Song smiled and said, to complete the plan of pouring sauce, we are not enough now. Before the second wave of Wagtail is released, let's first feather off the mother of pearl. But according to the plan, it's not possible in the short term. After loosening the keyboard and turning his head, he asked, do you want to change the strategy plan? Well, anyway, being idle is also being idle. Let's talk about it. Chang smiled without answering, but instead focused on a very inconspicuous Wagtail in the information, even the weakest Wagtail that Song ignored. Song of Wagtail, Long Neng. This is the ultimate weapon, Chang smiled. Qiu Jin and Guang Xiang were confused. Early morning. Dumping in the kitchen to cook, although it was just a simple soup and porridge, it was unexpectedly expected by all girls. Didn't you get tired after practicing all day yesterday? A group of girls gathered in the restaurant, chattering and making a scene. They poured their faces into silence and brought chicken soup from the kitchen, saying, all right, hurry up and eat it to replenish your energy. You need to work hard tonight. Yes, said the light and sound simultaneously. How amazing. He took a sip and his eyes lit up. Drink well, I didn't expect Ching Jun to be so secretive. Asama Meizai also exclaimed in admiration. Akitsu was munching on large chunks and didn't speak. How fragrant. A strong aroma of alcohol came in, and a black-haired lady wearing a deep purple qipao walked down the stairs in a leisurely manner. This is Fenghua who checked in yesterday afternoon. At that time, her arrival shocked Song and others for a while, but it was anticipated that she would collapse. Although surprised, Song and others were still very happy to welcome Fenghua and queue up, causing a stir all night. However, the final result was that Fenghua alone drank all the alcohol, and in the end, the women had to drink juice, which led to the complete miscarriage of the drunken incident that Chang had hoped for. Ah, Fenghua sauce. The mother.in.law waved her hand excitedly, there's chicken soup. Although it's strange to drink chicken soup early in the morning. This little girl got acquainted with Fenghua yesterday and greeted her without hesitation. Greeted Fenghua and helped her pour a bowl of soup. After eating breakfast, Master Chang is mine. Akitsu's face remained expressionless. Oh ho 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 ho, the laughter of light and sound overlapped, making them even more proud. Can you win over the two of us alone? Give up. Popsicles. Humph, electric baton. Akitsu remained expressionless, but unexpectedly had a venomous tongue. Alala, there's only one pouring sauce, everyone discuss it carefully. Song weakly fanned the flames on the side. There is only one. As soon as this sentence was spoken, the sound of light and Akitsu's composure instantly subsided, and the three of them made a scene. Song smiled happily. Sitting at the dining table, a group of warblers, birds, and swallows were playing and frolicking. As the center of the conversation, Chang completely ignored the few women and leisurely filled the chicken soup into a thermos, preparing to bring it to Qiansui later. Jian Nv had no intention of going out and had already returned to her room. Chang didn't pay much attention. Although she had planned to come to the hospital to meet her, it didn't matter. Anyway, it's not yet time for Jian Nv to mature. After possessing the ability to heal Qiansui, there is no need to worry about the mother of the pearl taking the initiative to transform. After tidying up, he greeted the women, put on his specially made earphones, put on his windbreaker, and left. The winter morning breeze is still very cold. Coming out of the warm apartment, I suddenly shivered. But wearing a windbreaker is not afraid of anything, and after putting on a helmet, there is no feeling at all. I drove my motorcycle all the way and quickly arrived at the hospital. After inquiring at the front desk, I quickly found Qiansui Xiaoyulai's ward. Good morning. With the permission of the little loli in the room, she pushed the door open and entered. Good morning, superpower brother. Qiansui still had a gentle and sunny appearance, but despite suffering from terminal illness, she was cheerful and optimistic. Perhaps, after receiving a definite and effective cure, she became even more outgoing. Oh, have you been seen through? Chang didn't care at all. After all, what he did yesterday was too obvious. Big brother is too stupid. Ah ha, isn't it? I didn't care, I didn't intend to conceal anything. Pouring down the thermos in his hand, he poured out the chicken soup and handed it over. I haven't had breakfast yet, haven't I? This is the chicken soup I've been making since last night, big brother. It's very good. Thank you, big brother. Qiansui excitedly took it and started drinking in small sips. I chatted with Qiansui and quickly finished breakfast. Let's start. Your mother.in.law will be coming soon, but I still want to give her a surprise. She leaned her hand on Qiansui's thigh, and the forest light full of life shone again. A warm vitality came from her big legs, bringing a special feeling that made Qiansui's face slightly rosy. The unusually comfortable touch spread throughout her body, and she exerted a lot of effort to not let herself moan. That's really outrageous. If the big brother finds out, then Chang wouldn't have the face to be with him. Sigh. Why should I be with my big brother? Being together or something? Qiansui Xiaoyulai's thinking deviated and she became confused. So, it's getting late too. Goodbye, Qiansui. I'll come back tomorrow. After chatting with Xiaoyulai for a while, the various rumors from all over the world made Xiaoyulai laugh, and then he said goodbye and left. See you big brother tomorrow. Qiansui Xiaoyulai couldn't bear to part. However, the strategy requires a gradual and cyclical approach, with Matsu as a logistical aid and effortlessly brushing off the favor of Qiansui Xiaoyulai. However, this kind of thing needs to be stopped in moderation. Today is already around, and coming back will have the opposite effect. Family affection and so on are not exactly what one desires. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 10. Shadow Wagtail. Midnight. You are listening at Novel Full.audio. Returning from Yinzhuang, I saw Dian Nv walking outside. After saying hello, Qing arrived at Song's small room. Or rather, a secret room. How's it going? Sitting on the loose bed, leaning over the flashing data on the computer, unable to understand it all. There's no way. Song felt a little helpless. Invading MBI's system database is really too simple, but modifying commands can be a bit troublesome. After all, it's just a computer system, and the arrangements for those top-notch tasks are determined by MBI's decision-making level. It's not just about modifying system data that can be successful. Well, it's okay. He leaned his chin and said, MBI should have noticed you. You're probably already discovered here. With some preparation, failure is also normal. Although Song also understood, she still felt very uncomfortable in her heart. You should know, she had been busy with this matter for several nights, and all her efforts were lost in one fell swoop. Don't worry, our goals are not that easy to get along with. Those guys who are in the upper echelons are all arrogant masters. If it's okay, I'll just work hard and run far away. It's okay, he said with a smile as he rubbed his loose head. Although the original plan was for MBI to place the wagtail they needed nearby and win them all in one fell swoop, it was indeed a wild idea. Although Song has high intelligence and intelligence are two completely different things. One is talent, and the other is accumulation. Genius can enable Song to learn knowledge, but wisdom can apply knowledge. As a wagtail, Pine is simply too naive. It is completely incomparable to humans. Simply changing commands to verbal communication completely cracked the electronic technology that has surpassed the times for 30 years. In terms of how to surpass it, it is also a matter of the internet. If the plan is not successful, there is nothing to be discouraged about. Anyway, this is just a small plan to save time, and whether it fails or not cannot affect Qing's true plan. After having a delicious lunch in Asama, I slept soundly until dusk. Opening the curtains, the winter dusk was particularly early. Although it was only after 7 o'clock now, the sun had long disappeared, which reminded Qing of the time when he had just moved out of Yunzhuang. However, compared to the leisurely leisure now, it was really due to excessive fatigue that I fell asleep in the sky after contracting the light and sound. Although the MBI command failed to modify the plan, it was not entirely without gains. 12 o'clock. The advantage brought by these two pieces of intelligence is that they have obtained the exact time and location of the wagtail's release, which is a great first mover. Riding a tilted bike, galloping towards the designated location. Quickly, Qing arrived at a small park. The gloomy park made Qing somewhat nostalgic, but without fine snow, it was not as pure as when he first saw a kitsu. However, it was irrelevant. In an hour, the wagtail ordered by Qing would be escorted by MBI and released here. Playing with the magic in his hand to pass the time, he quickly saw a pure black beautiful young woman walking towards the end of the park path. Black hair, black pupils, and black clothes, even the skin appears slightly dark. The whole body exudes laziness and leisure, as if it blends with the darkness of this park, but it also seems out of place. The leisurely strolling girl looked around and said, "I'm free." An excited and curious expression. Wagtail number 57, Shadow Wagtail. Midnight. The Rubik's Cube bought casually was thrown into the trash can. Laozi is a creator god, and it is absolutely impossible for him to become angry and ashamed because he cannot complete the Rubik's Cube. Ah! I looked at him curiously in the middle of the night, my heart throbbing. I've been waiting for you for a long time. Looking at the pretty/dizzy/red-faced girl across from me, I smiled slightly. My wagtail. The late-night action of the contract went exceptionally smoothly. It seems that Chang underestimated the attraction of the love aura to the alien race and the strong attraction of the wagtail with the immense power of reed teeth. Just sprouted in the middle of the night. Master, where are we going now? A strange expression of curiosity and boredom mixed on his face as he lazed around in the middle of the night. Can you carry people around with you? Chang asked without answering. If there's only one person, it's still possible. At midnight, he understood something and smiled with a hint of interest. Then let's go here. Chang opened a prepared mobile phone map and said, it is said that a wagtail has been released here. New East Central Plaza. Looking at the landmark curiously at midnight, why is it here? Generally speaking, wagtail are released in more remote places, aren't they? Who knows? With a shrug, alright, don't waste time. Let's go over first. Okay. Curiosity also subsided in the middle of the night, and the originally lazy temperament changed, causing the whole person to become erratic. Unreal like a shadow, this is the true appearance of midnight. The shadow of my contract follows the darkness behind Weiya. A congratulatory message with a middle school atmosphere was sung, and the dark shadow suddenly spread throughout this small park. The dim lights were swallowed up by the shadow, leaving only the tiny beams of light around the light bulb. Shadow the earth. Let's go. The whole person became excited in the middle of the night, and this was the first time she felt the power of the blessing. The dim shadow field suddenly experienced a wave, rapidly contracting like a vortex, as if even the night sky had been reduced to a point. The originally compressed and dim streetlights suddenly lit up, and finally when everything was restored. The two people who were originally standing under the street lamp have long disappeared, leaving only a cool motorcycle parked on the roadside, standing alone under the lamp. Ah! My motorcycle. Can we jump back? You can walk back, sir. Xiaojing Taiyuko, the Hayabusa, felt that he had never been as angry as he is now. Everything was originally beautiful. As one of the three families in the imperial capital of Shindong, the heir of the Uzi clan, his innate intelligence and cunning allowed him to intervene in the family's internal affairs at a young age. Under the intentional or unintentional care of the adults, he was at his prime. Proud and arrogant. All of this became even more uncontrollable after he picked up a man claiming to be a wagtail from the street. After he saw the man cut off an approaching bus with a single blow. He believes that things like wagtail should belong to him. That's right, he has everything he wants from childhood to adulthood, and this time is no exception. Nah, Lu Ao. With a smile on his face, Xiao Jingtai looked at the man who claimed to be a wagtail. I want all the wagtails. Wagtails should be mine. Yes. I will do my best to fulfill your wish, said the man named Lu Ao. Xiao Jingtai's imperial son, the Hayabusa, confirmed this even more. Until the day before yesterday. By a very ordinary chance, he coincidentally met a pair of wagtail. A pair. There were two twin wagtail that manipulated thunder, and the fiery and wild nature of the lightning intoxicated him, so he launched a pursuit. Since it's what adults want, even if it's forced feathering, we need to bring you to the adult side. Lu Ao said so, and it was also the first time that little Jingtai's son, the Hayabusa, had heard the term forced feathering. This makes him very excited. Excitedly dancing. Lu Ao. Lu Ao. I want them. Xiao Jingtai spun around, dancing the latest dance she had learned. With the new wagtail that just emerged yesterday, Lu Ao's power has been completely liberated. The sword energy is crisscrossing, and thunder is overflowing. The scenes that only appear in movies and mythology are so realistically presented to him, and in an instant, the picturesque rooftop scenery is cut off, electrocuted, roasted, and destroyed. Make it even more difficult for Xiao Jingtai to control himself. With extraordinary confidence in the power of Lu Ao, or a firm belief in the belief that, you will definitely have what you want, the Hayabusa Yuko, who has never had the concept of failure, has no worries at all. As the top-ranked wagtail with ranking number 05, Lu Ao did not disappoint him either. In just 10 minutes, it pushed the already scarred wagtail into a desperate situation. And Lu Ao has not yet used his trump card, which is the strongest power of wagtail that only he can inspire. Congratulations. However, in the next moment, everything has changed. Death has never been so clearly presented to him, unlike the bloated businessmen he interacted with his father, regardless of their status, unlike family members, regardless of age, unlike the prayers of roadside wanderers, regardless of wealth or status, death is equally bestowed upon all. At this moment, little Zhengtai, who had been treating this war-called wagtail game as a real game, fully understood this. Then, he was rescued. After spending 2 days in a daze, he finally realized. My own pride and arrogance were shattered, and immense anger surged out of it. I must let that person who dares to sneak attack on him die better than die. Completely enraged, Xiao Zhengtai and his close guards began searching throughout the city. However, apart from that beam of light, they had no impression of attackers and were destined to work in vain. However, this is not without its benefits. They, who were busy searching day and night, coincidentally found a wagtail on the square in the city center. A wagtail with long golden wavy hair. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 11. Water Wagtail. Moon Sea. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the other side of the square. The black shadows spread and appeared inconspicuous in the pitch-black night. The shadow skipped over the crowd, crossed the runway, brushed past the lights, and finally stopped in a small forest in the square, where all the shadows suddenly converged towards this point. Very abrupt. At once, the shadow jumped from the anime to the third dimension. A round tympanic membrane suddenly bulged from the shadow. When it reached the limit, it was like a flower/petal blooming, revealing 2 figures. A man dressed in black and with black hair, possessing a handsome and unconventional appearance, with a gentle smile on his face like the night sky, as well as a girl with an exceptionally perfect proportion but appearing dark from head to toe. It's the night of Qinghe. Song, here comes Qingjun. Yes. I've received it. But the position of the pouring sauce is not good, they are on the other side. A soft voice came from the earphones. Also, the little Zhengtai Weiya I met a few days ago is also here. It seems like I'm targeting Little Moon Sea Sauce. It seemed as if one could hear the sound of song chuckling, with a hint of mischief and cuteness, but the content of the words made Qing feel helpless. How could it be him again? That BL Reed tooth combination. In his heart, he silently roasted about the relationship with the other party. Because of this, he avoided fighting last time. He always felt that he would be rotted if he contacted more. I will definitely vomit to death. Qing sighed helplessly. Nanny. Although I knew about the existence of another wagtail in the middle of the night, the hidden information in this conversation was too much, especially in the last sentence. How amazing. It's okay, let's go. He waved his hand dejectedly, ignoring the topic. The shadow in the middle of the night moved very quickly, but after all, she had just left MBI and was completely unfamiliar with the road conditions. In addition, she did not know the Moon Sea, and in the end, she was still trapped in the female realm and carried by Qing. Although it was on the other end of the square, the positions where Moon Sea and Qing appeared were actually very close to the center. Therefore, after passing through a small forest under the command of Song, Qing quickly saw 4 people facing each other in the forest. As the wagtails Hinako and Luao, the twos Ashikaga Yuko and Hayabusa, as well as their target for this time, Moon Sea. This is really lucky. I didn't expect to encounter a wagtail here. The Hayabusa on the Yuzi suddenly felt as if he had returned to the past. The life that no one dares to disobey, where there is always something to be desired, as if it were the protagonist of a game. This is really amazing. Excited Hayabusa Yuko. Humph. I don't need the filthy existence of Weiya. Yuehai looked at the bouncing little Zhengtai with great disgust. Let's eliminate filthy things like you as soon as possible for Wang. Anger filled the heart, and the moon sea stomped its feet. A huge stream of water surged out of nowhere, suspended in the air like a winding dragon of water. No, that's a river. The existence of the moon sea itself is a surging river with unparalleled natural power, containing water pressure that can easily crush a tank. However, as her opponent, the knife-wielding wagtail named Lu Ao was already an extraordinary person. Once defeated an army with a single blow, as the first generation of punishment troops, he pushed Japan to the pinnacle of his achievements, including the MBI and the Hirokazu people, and became the initial hero of Japan's uncrowned king. The sharpness it contains is also enough to cut through mountains and rivers. I will never let you harm adults. Lu Ao drew his sword from his waist. Your fate is already predetermined. Perhaps our strength is equal, but 2 against 1, you have no chance of winning. Become an adult's wagtail. I don't want it. Yuehai Chuli was furious and had just emerged from her MBI. Before she could be happy for a while, a guy jumped out who wanted to force her to feather. Even the real reed teeth she despised, how could the proud moon sea bear it? Attack first now. Water tap. The river that was spreading around her suddenly boiled and swept towards the 3 of them like a long dragon with immense water pressure. The overwhelming power that covered the sky and sun surprised the 3 of them, but it was just a surprise. The Hayabusa people on the Yuzi River absolutely trust their wagtail. However, as his wagtail, Hinako, who prioritized protecting the reed teeth, jumped out of the battlefield in the next moment and did not let him go into danger. The space-based satellite gun the day before yesterday made them dare not be careless. Lu Ao gave a cold smile and advanced forward. The blade in his hand was unsheathed, and with a flash of cold light, several blade edges flew out with the momentum of cutting everything apart. The sharp blade edges even cut open the earth made of cement. Easily chopped the water tap in the air into several sections. The aura of the blade does not diminish, and although the power of cutting off water makes the blade slightly dull, it is like a sharpening stone, making its power even sharper. This is a full blow from Lu Ao. Anyone who dares to take action against the Falcon Man on the Yuzi Mountain, even the reserved wagtail, will be punished. The wagtail, which cannot withstand even a single blow, is not needed by the Hayabusa on the Imperial Sun. Faced with several fierce slashes, Yuehai let out a cold snort and a surge of water vapor surged out of her body. A large amount of water vapor swirled around, but in an instant, a vortex wave formed. As the tide swirled, the enormous water pressure washed away and shifted the blade, leaving only a trace of blade to cut through a large tree in the distance, but it was of no use. Humph, interesting. Lu Ao's eyes lit up as only this wagtail was enough for him to take action. With a movement of their feet, the whole person seemed to be covered by a layer of illusion in an instant, with countless figures appearing and disappearing, rushing towards the sea of the moon at lightning speed. The moon sea is like her name, usually as quiet as the bright moon on the sea, but once angry, anger can be like raging waves, able to destroy everything. Faced with that eerie and ghostly figure, Moon Sea had no intention of just defending. The tide that broke through the blade was suddenly condensed into a ball the size of a basketball, and was embraced by Moon Sea ring in front of Xiong. Shuya. The water mass compressed by a huge amount of water suddenly exploded, and countless water arrows carried enormous water pressure and shot towards the oncoming Lu Ao. No matter how strange and magical you are, I will crush you with all my strength. Countless water arrows were shot out, and the water arrows that fell in the air easily penetrated the marble floor, densely covering every corner of the body within 100 meters. The affected trees were smashed like foam, and the huge water pressure hit the earth with a tremor. Hinako, who had already left with the Hayabusa, had to dodge again, which prevented her from joining the battle as she ran hundreds of meters away. Just the Hinako of the advanced Wagtail has no qualification to participate. Don't worry. Liu Ao will definitely win. With deep trust in his Wagtail, there was no hint of worry in the eyes of the Hayabusa on the Yuzi. As he said, he absolutely believes that his Wagtail will bring him victory. As if sensing the pedestrians of the Hayabusa on the Yuko Island, the phantom remnants separated by Liu Ao suddenly came to an end. The whole person stood in place, facing the water arrows that were like a cluster of machine guns, trembling all over. No. It's shaking. Not only humans, but even the knives in their hands have become blurry. His exceptional martial arts skills made him stand tall in the rain like a dreamy bubble without any trace, but even he had no room to fight back for the time being. We can only passively wait for the cessation of this arrow rain. The moon sea continuously poured water into the water ball in its hand, but the flow of the water arrow was too fierce. However, in just about 10 seconds, the water in the moon sea had to slow down. When Liu Aoduan's eyes lit up, he, who had been accumulating momentum in the rain for a long time, without hesitation, a huge blade pierced through him. In an instant, the refined blade rushed across a distance of several tens of meters between the two people, and in an instant, it struck the face door of the moon sea. At that moment when the fragrance was fading away, a sudden stream of water rose and hit the blade fiercely. Bang! The collision of water and light emits a crisp metallic sound. What blocked this blow was the only melee skill in the moon sea. The water sword. The extreme water pressure condenses into a thin sword, and the enormous water pressure gives the water flow strength comparable to that of superalloys. The freely controlled water sword makes the moon sea completely fearless of any melee. So, two top wagtails capable of destroying an army unfolded in the central square of the city. With the splashing sound of knives and water bullets, the aftermath of the battle had completely destroyed the surrounding small forest. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 12. Versus Liu Ao. You are listening at novelfull.audio. It seems we're late. Walking into the broken battlefield in the middle of the night, feeling a bit distressed. I originally wanted to come earlier, but being able to witness this battle was not a waste of my trip. The world of Wagtail Goddess is a world of third-level martial arts, but using this world as the starting point for entry, Chang, who had already understood it, still felt a wave of admiration for this scene like a battle between gods and demons. This is the first time for Taiyang to see wagtails fighting, which is not comparable to Liu Ao's crushing of Guangxiang sisters the day before yesterday. Watching the battle through satellite videos, one cannot feel the surging aura and the ferocity of the confrontation. What person? At the moment when Liu Ao strolled out, he withdrew and drank coldly. He stood with his knife but no longer attacked. Yuehai also retreated to the side in tacit agreement, with the unknown identity of the newcomer. Regardless of his intentions, the hidden one on the side posed a great threat to anyone, whether they were enemies or friends. I am Chang. Chang strolled into the battlefield, completely ignoring the opponent's powerful combat power that could destroy the building. Just think of me as someone who came to save beauty as a hero. Although joking, Chang was surprised that the other party did not recognize him. You know, the day before yesterday, Chang gave them a solid artillery strike. However, at that time, Liu Ao was worried about the safety of the Hayabusa on the Imperial Palace. After jumping out of the building, he hid with Himiko in the building. Although he wanted to investigate who had shaded them, the flying smoke and debris in the sky completely blocked their sight. Helplessly, they did not stop and kept shifting their positions. Finally, after confirming their safe return, Chang had already left with the third daughter. In the end, they could only vent their frustrations, jumping and feeling helpless. Enemy. Lu Ao squinted his eyes and directly concluded. Although he had a premonition after the enemy appeared, Lu Ao's heart couldn't help but sink when faced with the sudden invasion of the battlefield. Wait. You guy. You. However, compared to Lu Ao's vigilance, Moon C was directly shocked. The throbbing sensation that had been present since before suddenly surged like a drum after the young man appeared, and an unstoppable fervor of heat spread throughout his body in an instant. There's nothing wrong. Only this pulsation engraved in the soul will never be mistaken. This is. The boy in front of me is, are you my reed tooth? Yuhaden felt ashamed and distressed, feeling the palpitations before, thinking it was some annoying little ghost. As a result, not only did she admit the wrong person, but she also got into a big fight, which made the sense of shame like black history make proud and delicate Moon C angry. And yet. And. Help and rescue. Hero rescue, beauty rescue, whatever. Yuehai felt like her whole person was in chaos. Help you, beautiful woman. As soon as this sentence was spoken, Moon C turned as red as boiled shrimp. Before he could even make a few jokes with Yuehai, Lu Ao, who had been ignored, suddenly exploded. The knife shines like the sea. Lu Ao, who had been accumulating power for a long time, suddenly pulled out the sharp blade in his hand, and the rolling blade shone like a wave, rushing towards the tilted and moonlit sea. Since it has been determined that the other party is the enemy, if it is not Wagtail, then it is undoubtedly the hostile Reed Fawn. Therefore, there is no need to hesitate. Kill. Do you really want to fight? It's really troublesome. Helplessly pouted, showing no genuine interest in fighting in a world that relies entirely on women. But although it makes this world really suitable. Autumn Tianjin. The door to the white world opened again, and a pure white hand stretched out from it. Suddenly, an icy bloom appeared. Ice and frost spread across the earth, and the cold air filled the air. The sky began to drift with fine snow, and the surrounding trees began to feel a chill. The huge ice wall stands up abruptly. The blade slashed on the ice wall, and thick and terrifying knife marks kept flashing. The huge ice wall continued to crack, and the falling ice was crushed and divided by the sweeping blade. However, no matter what damage the ice wall receives, it will be filled and repaired in the next moment. The blade-like waves inevitably declined, just like the waves crashing against the rocks, except for the scattered water, it could not stir up any wind or waves. In the end, only flying ice fragments remained. You are absolutely not allowed to harm adults. The girl in a white kimono walked out of the door. The girl, covered in Arctic cold, had a better figure than ordinary people, but a hint of concern could be seen on her expressionless face. And anger. Is this your Wagtail? Lu Ao's pupils furrowed as he said, the ice element Wagtail, if that's right, is it Kyuzan with the number 07? That's right. She squinted her eyes and smiled proudly. But the good mood was soon interrupted. Oh. So amazing. Lu Ao. I want her. I want her. I also want this Wagtail. The Hayabusa in the distance looked at Akitsu and saw stars popping up, jumping excitedly. Yes. Sir, I will do my best to fulfill all my wishes for you. Lu Ao turned his head and showed a spoiled smile towards the Hayabusa on the Imperial Sun. Come on. In the night, far apart and distant, the Hayabusa on Yuzi seemed to know Lu Ao's intentions and cheered calmly. Looking at the scene of digging the wall in front of me, I suddenly felt a little tired. Forget it, don't talk to them anymore. He waved his hand and opened the door to the world again, and light and sound walked out at the same time. Upon seeing the opening of the women's gate again, Lu Ao immediately felt the extremely high tactical value it contained. The opponent definitely had a Wagtail manipulating space. However, Liu Ao was stimulated by the light and sound sisters appearing in the door just when he thought about it. The familiar fur coat and hairstyle, the identical pretty face, and the arrogant queen-like momentum are the twin wagtails that escaped from him the day before yesterday. Surprisingly, it's you. The person who fired a shell at us the night before yesterday. Is that you? In an instant, Liu Ao felt his canthus about to crack, and his whole body completely went berserk. However, Chang was too lazy for them to say too much, wave their hands, take a step back, and be enveloped in the shadow with the midnight, disappearing in place, leaving only one sentence. Kill them. The excited expression in Guang and Xiang's eyes flashed, and a burst of lightning flashed from the two goddesses. The whole person seemed to be enveloped by thunder, and the two women, like thunder gods, were like two thunderbolts in the next moment. Instantly ejaculate. It is precisely the new skill developed by Chang and Song specifically for him, in addition to Thunderbolt. Stimulate muscles with electric shock, allowing them to unleash a strong explosive force of 500%. This ability, combined with the wagtails already exceeding physical fitness, immediately gave the two women an unmatched speed. Therefore, it is named, Speed Up. There was no time to react, and Liu Ao, relying on his tempered instincts, swung his sword to reveal the light, but he could no longer stop Xiang's attack. The whole person was hit hard in the stomach by a loud hook punch. Being shot into the sky. Just as Liu Ao was about to take off, he appeared next to him in an instant, giving him a heavy kick in the waist. In just 10 seconds, Liu Ao was continuously hit by light and sound in the air, like a ball, tossing back and forth in the air. Liu Ao has tried to counterattack before, but in the eyes of the two women in a lightning-fast state, Liu Ao's speed of wielding his sword is too slow. No counterattack. The day before yesterday, Liu Ao, who had chased the two women in a disarray and fled, was now beaten like a dog by the joint efforts of the two women. In fact, it's not that Liu Ao himself is too weak. With his skills that have been honed and refined, Liu Ao's strength can definitely be called strong. Compared with the light and sound relying on the explosive skill of magic speed, Liu Ao is now totally belittling the light and sound sisters. He just abused them the day before yesterday, but today when he meets subconsciously, he belittles two girls. It's really a non-war mistake. 10 seconds later, Liu Ao was heavily hit by the combination of light and sound, causing the ground to crack open before being ejaculated back to his side. The newly mastered skills are already unfamiliar, and this explosive ability consumes too much physical energy. However, in just 10 seconds, light and sound are already exhausted and unable to move. Well done. He smiled at Guang and Xiang and took the two women back into the women's world. Afterwards, he strolled over to Liu Ao's side, and Qiu Jin followed closely behind him in the middle of the night. His eyes remained very cautious as he looked at Liu Ao, afraid that he would suddenly become angry. Cut. Seeing that the conspiracy was not successful, Liu Ao slapped the ground with one hand and his whole body tumbled in the air, instantly moving away from the three of Chang and Qiu Jin. Oh, I actually wanted to launch a surprise attack. It's really regrettable that we didn't succeed, Chang smiled regretfully. In fact, Chang didn't believe that light and sound could defeat Liu Ao. Perhaps they can be defeated, and with their incredible speed, they can even completely suppress them in a short period of time. But definitely not. The skill of repeated trials and tribulations is definitely not that simple. As a meat-based wagtail, the strongest weapon that has undergone countless exercises cannot be broken by the small fist of light and sound. That's right, they are in a state of incredible speed, and apart from the numbing electricity they carry when they come out to strike, all their attacks rely on speed bonuses to bring meat/body damage. As an elemental wagtail, its hand-to-hand combat abilities in light and sound are slightly stronger than those in tilt. Therefore, the fact that Liu Ao was killed is something that Chang would never believe. Things are just as expected. Retreat, Liu Ao, said the Hayabusa not far away. But Liu Ao was a bit unwilling. After all, he was almost on par with the Moon Sea. With just a congratulatory message, he could easily defeat her without any surprise. He is very confident in his congratulations. Hurry up and retreat. The Wagtails are giving up. Should it be said that he truly deserves to be the heir of the great family? The Hayabusa no Mikoto was completely not deceived by the victory in front of him. Through the confrontation just now, although I believe that my Wagtail will not lose after using the congratulatory message, the other party has 4 feathers. And both Akitsu, who is a superior Wagtail, and an unnamed Wagtail suspected of having spatial abilities, along with a Moon Sea that is likely an enemy friendly. The Moon Sea had previously shouted out that the young man was her reed tooth. The Hayabusa Yuko was well aware of the power held by an unknown Wagtail. After confirming that his side had no hope of victory, he decisively retreated. Yes. Liu Ao didn't say anything nonsense and retreated to the side of the Hayabusa and Yuko. Although very unwilling, Liu Ao still left with his own reed teeth. I remember you, the unknown reed tooth. In the near future, we will definitely decide life and death. The 3 of them suddenly disappeared into the shadow of the small forest. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th. Chapter 13. Flame of the Flame Wagtail. You are listening at novelfull.audio. On the other hand, the Imperial Hayabusa, who was vying for the Moon Sea, retreated, leaving only Tsunwa Moon Sea on the scene. Shueju. Yuehai looked beside her for a long time, and before she could say anything, she raised her hand and fired a water cannon as she saw the Hayabusa leaving. However, it was easily frozen by a chill from Akitsu. Although ineffective, it clearly indicates an attitude. Leaning will never feather. I originally wanted to talk, but forget it. I let out a sigh and looked at the Moon Sea with firm eyes. For tomorrow, I need your strength. I'm sorry, Miss Yuehai. Even with strength, I still need to gain your power. Humph. You're just a monkey. Moonlight Sea once again gushed out with water, and the whole person rushed towards it. Although his courage is commendable, he is just like Liu Ao, facing the 3 of them who are both in the upper echelons, watering Akitsu. Without any suspense, he easily defeated Yuehai. After all, whether it's freezing or conducting electricity, the power of the 3 of Akitsu has restrained her to death. You will be my Wagtail in the future. Twisting the slender chin of the Moon Sea, he leaned in and kissed it directly. The familiar Wagtail magic formation unfolded again. Although it was still the same process, it was fundamentally different from the past. This is forced feathering. From now on, let me protect you. After finishing, looking at the stagnant Moon Sea, I let out a sigh and held her in my arms. Don't worry, I will definitely not let you down, little Moon Sea. Yuehai's face suddenly turned red and she struggled. Chang didn't stop, and the thin-skinned Moon Sea hurriedly pushed Chang away, but halfway through, it pushed itself back into Chang Xiong's chest. You said you would protect me for a lifetime, yes. Is it true? The Moon Sea panicked and even modern words popped out. Of course. Upon hearing the resolute tone, although Yuehai was extremely shy, she finally stopped panicking. However, she still felt a bit embarrassed and hesitant. That. So, you must take responsibility. Well, isn't that for granted? Chang smiled. Although not as bright as sunshine, that moonlight-like smile easily penetrated the depths of the Moon Sea's heart. It's unbelievable. I hate Weya so much, but my chaotic heart has become stable in your smile. I will abide by this miraculous promise for a lifetime. Because I am your Wagtail. All the women of Akitsu were brought into the women's world, and then they followed through the shadows and jumped back to the original small park in the middle of the night. The motorcycle parked on the roadside is still there, which makes Chang breathe a sigh of relief. At least it was bought for over 500,000 yuan. The task for tonight has been basically completed, but there is a very special little wagtail that is probably hungry now. After thinking about it, I have decided to give up first. After all, it's already 3 or 4 o'clock in the morning. After thinking about it, Chang took a ride in the middle of the night and drove his motorcycle back to Chuyun village. Surprisingly, there are new customers in Chuyun village. Through a thorough investigation, it was discovered that it was the unstable gene that led to the intense fluctuations in power in the beautiful young woman. The yin-yang characters in the original work, however, that setting was too unscientific, and it was ridiculed after asking too much. Not to mention the disappearing and growing sex organs, just the changes in the X and Y genes are enough to cause the collapse of all biological genes, including the wagtail. Even if it miraculously exists, it is impossible to suppress it just by sinking into a basin of water. Or rather, being able to live alone is the greatest miracle of that existence. This is a loose explanation. However, even in reality, the beauty of this woman disguised as a man still poses a lot of trouble. The instability of her power makes her flames too active, and once her power increases to a certain extent, it will lead to losing control. It's not surprising to burn oneself when the time comes. Song suddenly froze for a moment and then began typing quickly on the keyboard. Then Chang saw a slender figure on the computer screen leaving the Chuyun village, but no matter how he looked at that figure, it revealed a sense of embarrassment. Because not only were his clothes ragged and tattered, with burn marks everywhere on his body, but there was also a small but thick smoke emanating from his entire body. Flame. This was Chang's first reaction, and then Chang exclaimed in surprise, she lost control. Song's face was solemn. Although it cannot be detected, through observation, her body contains an ultra-high temperature of 1,500 degrees. This has exceeded the temperature of lava. Once this force erupts, this residential area will be burned to the ground, 1,500 degrees. He couldn't even calm down for a moment. This would be so exaggerated. What should I do? What should I do? Song desperately typed the keyboard. After confirming that this was not an illusion, his whole body was in a bad state and rolled back and forth on the bed. We're going to explode somewhere else. Go somewhere else. Don't be here, I was a bit speechless about Song's lack of integrity, but after a moment of contemplation, I turned around and left again. After leaning away, he paused and turned to look at Leaning, showing a hint of smile. Allah, it seems that this flame bird can't run away from Lord Leaning's palm. Lord Chang, you need to work hard. Don't waste the great opportunity one have prepared for you. It turned out that she deliberately caused it after working for a long time. However, the original work was able to suppress changes with flames, and now of course, it can also induce mutations. This is as simple as any for Song. Ahem. So soft that he was by the wall, Yen tightly covered his mouth and trembled violently all over. Flames kept flickering on her body, even the MBI fire-resistant suit was ignited, leaving a few burnt marks and a continuous stream of black smoke rising out. What's going on? Why did it come so suddenly? Struggling to stand up, Yen was very aware of his current situation and could not stay here any longer. This palpitations, can it be said that my reed teeth are nearby? Is it because of this that I lost control of my strength? No, it was caused by some unscrupulous pink. Feeling the burning frenzy surging within the body, ripples spread out with the beating of the heart, igniting the raging flames in the genes that could not be suppressed. We can't stay here any longer, in case. If we can't suppress it. She struggled to move forward while holding onto the wall, but a flame burst out of her heart, making her feel so weak that she couldn't help but fall. Cold water wishes. A water column fell from the sky, pouring flames into a drenched chicken, containing extremely cold water that cooled her whole body. Ah, ah. Yen was stunned for a moment, completely unresponsive. Are you okay? With Chojin and Yuehai in tow, they walked quickly from the corner of the wall. The water wish, which contained extreme cold, was their temporary combination skill. Not bad, not bad. Yen exhaled heavily, her eyes hazy, and the alternation of extreme heat and cold made her feel powerless all over. She let out a sigh and complained a bit about Song Dun, but now it's not the time to say that. Seeing Yen wearing only a thin, moist white shirt all over her body, curled up in the corner and trembling constantly, she immediately took off her windbreaker, wrapped her up, and then picked her up whole. Let's talk about it later. Let's go back to Yunzhuang first. Yen suddenly froze and struggled, no, no. Take me away from here. The more remote. The farther, the better. After speaking, a burst of white mist appeared all over Yan's body, and strands of black shadows appeared from the windbreaker wrapped around him. However, before he could say anything, he fell into a coma. Take her back to Yunzhuang. A voice of urgency came from the earphones. After looking at the unconscious flame and pondering for a moment, he quickly returned to the cloud villa with her and the two daughters of Chojin Yuehai. Fortunately, the time when the flame erupted was relatively short and he didn't leave far. However, a few minutes later, Qin carried the flame back to the cloud villa, and at this time, Qin gradually felt the temperature of the female body in his arms constantly rising. The combination of Akitsu and Moon Si, Shueizhu, is unable to suppress the uncontrollable flames. Throwing the flame into the bathtub, Yuehai threw a water ball and filled the bathtub, while Kyuzin next to her touched the ground. The flame and bathtub were completely frozen, leaving only one head exposed outside. However, the flame still did not react, only continuous wisps of water vapor emerged, but it temporarily stabilized. Oh no! Song opened the door and walked in with a look of anxiety on his face. I never expected that you, Lord Qing, would be just Yan's reed tooth. You really have a good heart to do something wrong now. What's wrong? Qing hurriedly asked. It's very troublesome. Song's face was solemn. If there's anything I need to help with, I'll do my best. Yuehai looked up and said. Kyuzin didn't say a word, but his expression clearly agreed with this. Previously, on the way back, Qin had already informed Yen of the changes inside his body, understanding that Yen only needed to release his strength to relieve pain, and he would not have any problems with himself. But for the safety of the nearby residents, it is better to endure the flames and let their bodies burn than to leave before facing the limit. Well. Yen came to me earlier and asked me for a medicine that could suppress her body's abnormal changes. Song hesitated for a moment, but slowly spoke up. I thought to Qing, you're almost back soon. Why don't you stimulate your genes? And then, as a last resort, feather with you. Like this and so on. You'll have more. One more. Wagtail. This has a great promoting effect on Mr. Qing's plan. I'm not just casually messing around. Song also felt his lack of confidence in his words and quickly said again. However, the tone in the words was more of a consolation than an explanation. After all, this time even loosening oneself feels like a big trouble. Qingming outing and happy reading. Charge 100 and get 500 VIP coupons. Immediate recharge, activity period. April 4th to April 6th.